Dear friends, my name is Alexey Ognev. I'm the CEO of the DigiU ecosystem, and I welcome you in this webinar. Today we're going to talk about the topic I touched on Monday about the projects of the ecosystem. And those who haven't watched the webinar on Monday, please do watch it, because there was a detailed discussion, after which it becomes clear how we came to the point of project selections, how they add to each other, and how we connect them in terms of business and economics. Today we are going to talk about that topic as well, but from a little bit different perspective. And again, artificial intelligence strengthens each field in today's world. And all our projects are developing rapidly, including DigiU.Wealth, Blockchain Lab, and AI Lab as well. Those are the places where we are developing the projects that will be relevant in 5-10 years. And we will be able to earn money with the help of our venture capital fund. And all this allows us to achieve the results we already have now. And now I will remind you what happened on Monday in the previous webinar. And if you watched the webinar on Monday, please let us know what you think of this project, if you liked the webinar, and what expectations you have from today's webinar. Because already now I can see some questions in the chat about receiving tokens, shares, even though we haven't mentioned that there will be tokens or shares. Because these projects are under development now, and there can be different types of ownerships, like securities and others. And we are going to get those answers during the development phase of this project. And at the end of the webinar, you will learn the conditions and the requirements under which you will be able to become not only co-owners of this project through owning our securities, but also get them into your ownership completely for free. But this offer will be limited, and please be focused and prepare your questions. I think I will have some time at the end to answer your questions. So write them in the chat. And I will answer them at the end of the webinar. So we need to begin this webinar with the fact why we are succeeding in our goal and what was the goal. of our ecosystem. Probably many of you remember it, but there might be someone who just joined the ecosystem. At the end of the last year, we finished the first stage of our development. It lasted since 2019 until the end of the last year. It was the most unusual stage, and we did a lot of work. We formed the team. We have also built the first project and paid out dividends regularly. Since the beginning of this year it's the beginning of the new stage that will last for the next 3 years until the year of 2025. It's the stage of the venture capital fund. And now you can see the slide with the goals we set up for ourselves at the beginning of this year. The first one is to create a venture capital fund with $50 million of liquidity. It's the amount that allows us to operate in the way we want to. This amount will be attracted with the help of crowd investing and with the help of classical venture investing during all this stage. The second goal is to make more than 30 projects or products into our ecosystem using the venture capital fund. So these funds will be invested in 30 or more projects and solutions. Of course, related to modern technology and other areas where we are experts. And the third goal is that this approach lets us think that we can increase the capital of these deals can be increased by 4 times. That's the statistics of venture capital funds. And as a bonus, is having 1 or even more unicorns in our portfolio. And the probability with such amount of deals and liquidity is very high. It's about 85 or 90%. So we have entered the second stage of our development with these goals. It should be understood what projects interest us. And what projects our venture capital fund is interested in, and in what fields we select the projects and products. Globally, we consider projects in the fields of blockchain, artificial intelligence, since we have a high expertise in these fields. Apart from these 2 big spheres, there are also smaller ones. For example, RWA, real-world assets, neural interfaces, biometrics, predictive analytics, speech recognition, and digitalization of identity. you can also see what projects are already in the market. This is, for example, Binarix. At the beginning of this year, we saw a big potential in this sphere, made the first investment, and started building our expertise in real-world assets. Based on that, we have planned to create a tokenized marketplace, token state, and we're going to talk about it today. Also, as part of our venture capital fund, before the year 2023, we have invested in the EYWA project, with which we succeeded a lot, where we saw that a part of our expertise, we see the recognition from other market players, from blockchain projects and venture funds. And we showed that we have a team that went from the idea to the commercial realization of the product. And DigiU became the earliest investor in the project with the most beneficial conditions. Also this year, we invested in the Spirit Me project in the AI field. Right now it's launching in the US market. And this project allows you to create your digital copy in a few minutes. And we are also continuing to develop in this area. And at the beginning of this year, we set the goal to make 3 to 5 venture deals as part of the second development stage. And what we can see now, we can see that we have 2 completed deals, is Binarix and Spirit Me, and 3 directions that we are going to finance at the earliest stages, at the pre-seed rounds. What we also can see here is the roadmap, how we are going to implement those deals. And at the last webinar, I told you that right now we are in the stage of registration of the venture capital fund. So we can attract funding from classical institutions like business angels and venture funds. So we can have all the legal work in place, because it all opens up new opportunities, new projects, and new perspectives. Because if you invest with large and top funds, you have more doors opening in front of you. That's why we are considering about this issue as well. Hopefully, we will be able to register the company by the end of this year. And for the next year, we have a goal of investing in 10 projects, and in 2 years, in the year of 2025, invest in 20 projects. and many events we are having now, confirming that we are successfully finishing this year. And in the last webinar, we talked about 3 directions: is artificial intelligence, RWA bank, which transformed into a standalone field, and which is ready to attract funds from other market players. And the third direction is tokenized assets. We started this direction with the token estate marketplace. And now once we studied this field, the market of tokenized assets is much more than just a real estate asset, And now we are developing in the field of RWA marketplace. And once we look at the roadmap a bit later, we will see that there will be more projects integrated in this sphere. It can be areas of precious metals, some golds, and so on. And we can see now that the tokenization of real-world assets is very trending right now and is developing really rapidly. So we saw a huge potential and received a high expertise in this field. So again, we see a huge potential in this market. And the capitalization of this market is around $10 billion. And of course, with other spheres integrating into that market, the capitalization will be increased. And since we have some expertise, we will be able to get some share of this market, some percentage of these billions of dollars. And if you have knowledge and expertise, you can make money from that. At least that's what we at DigiU do. And as you can see, we are achieving the plan as part of our venture capital fund. We are monitoring a lot of external projects, and also there are projects we built in-house as part of our blockchain lab and artificial intelligence lab. And I want to emphasize that artificial intelligence is essential for surviving for modern businesses. And we understand that we need to have artificial intelligence in our portfolio, like DigiU.Vision, DigiU.Voice, or predictive analytics. We also see that we need resources, that we need more resources to develop and attract projects in the field of artificial intelligence. So that's why we concentrated on attracting funds and investing in the projects. And theoretically, we can build a solution that will allow to forecast with a high level of probability. And Peter talked about it. But to do that, we need much more resources than we have now. And in a few days, we will announce the direction of artificial intelligence that we want to develop. It can be our in-house development, or it can be an external project. Anyways, we have serious plans for developing our portfolio and having more projects in our portfolio. But again, it's obvious that we need more time and resources. And you all know that it all started with the launch of ChatGPT, and many our investors and partners noticed that such companies like OpenAI spends a lot of time and resources to build that product. And we also discussed with Peter that our predictions were very accurate in terms of artificial intelligence. That it was just not going to develop, but it will be used in everyday lives. Like generative services, such as pictures, text, voices, and so on. And if you watch our previous webinars with Peter, that's what we talked about. And that's what we studied all this time. So we have some expertise and knowledge, and we are continuing to work on that. Now let's move on to the projects that have already been created. And the projects that in the next 3-6 months will go into free floating in the same way as EYWA. And let's start with the RWA marketplace. You can see the roadmap now, but I want to remind you about the potential of this market. Now, as I said, it's around $10 billion right now. And we can see the potential for ourselves to have some part of that market. So what is RWA Marketplace? It's some kind of a platform where it is possible to conduct trade operations using real-world assets. And we are working on that since this summer, and we've been contacted by real estate agencies, brokers, from different countries. So we saw a lot of perspectives, and it became obvious to us that the market is enormous and it's just forming, and it is possible to become one of the players. But not only in terms of the real estate, but also as a provider of real world assets, tokenized real world assets. That's when the concept of how the banking will change was born. And if the tokenized real world assets will become a new type of ownership, it will change everything. That's what I was talking about in the exhibition. And right now, we see our potential that we can use our expertise in this market we can also see a clear roadmap that we need to go through, that we need to implement. And also we understand that we need to launch right now, because now it is decreasing a bit. And once we will launch our products, it will go up again, and we will be the ones with expertise and knowledge. And we plan to sell our first real estate on our marketplace this year. And we will also work on the legal part of this platform. And recently we talked with Alexander E. that there are many issues we need to consider in terms of legal framework. So this project will become successful and available to everyone. Also, it might be surprising to you, but we will add the possibility to invest in the real estate which is under construction. And you can see the potential that this market offers. And we have already been contacted and offered on the topic of tokenization of precious metals, gems. We've been also offered on tokenization of leasing models and other assets. So we are planning to add all these assets to be tokenized on our marketplace. And at the end of the year 2024, there should be launch of a product related to the RWA bank. And let's look at the roadmap of our RWA bank. It's another product that will be ready to launch in the market. Let's remember how the EYWA project developed. So there was an idea from Boris. We attended some hackathons with this idea, and we won some of the hackathons, and we understood that there is a demand in the market. And once you understand that there is a demand, you make a profit on that. Therefore, the DigiU Venture Capital Fund invested in the project, and the product went from an idea to a final solution in just 6 months. And as you can see, now it has partnerships and investments from big market players, such as Curve Company, for example. And we want to do the similar thing with our other projects. So if you have a product and it has clients, it has customers, this product can be successful. And the goal of our venture capital fund is to launch each of these products into the real world. So they find their customers and take a market share. And we, as the DigiU ecosystem, will have the most beneficial conditions because we invested in them in the early stages. Let's look at RWA Bank. And if you are using traditional banks, you understand how the banks work, how they make money. And for me, it was a surprise that when new types of ownerships appear in the world, they created new objects. And with the appearance of tokenized real-world assets, it's obvious that there will be new structures launched. And the integration of digital currencies at the level of governments will speed up all this progress. And let's look at the example of DigiU Wealth, which has been in operation for 3 years already. And this year, you will see the opportunity to deposit your money, your funds, for 6 months or 12 months. So you can manage your assets that you deposit in our product. Also, it's the transition of the product into more decentralized sphere with the help of smart contracts that will eliminate human factors. It's all planned for this and next year. And of course, we want to do it more effectively and quick as possible. We are also working on lending. Because when we talk about lending and loans, it's about two parties. The one who is providing it and the one who is taking it. And with the example of DigiU Wealth, we can see that there are the ones who deposit funds for longer and more funds, but there are other ones who deposit not so much and for a shorter period. And as for RWA Bank, for sure it will not be for everyone. Not everyone will be able to provide liquidity. It will only be possible for large, big checks. But it will be open for all kinds of customers. Also, by the end of next year, we plan to launch our test products in the fields of loans and mortgages. So this direction is obviously related to RWA marketplace and connect all these events into one. So we plan that by the end of next year, there will be some kind of intersections of these two projects. And when they intersect, they will develop each other. So there will be more liquidity attracted, more clients, and more funds. So you can own real estate for collateral. And after that, the year 2025 will be pivotal for all the market, for the whole market. And it's obvious that the volume of banking services is about several trillion dollars. And it's enormous amount of clients in any part of the world. And we call it a bank because it's clear and understandable word. And if you work in banking sphere, you may think that the banking industry is much more than just loans and mortgages. And for example, when I was presenting in India and talking about the RWA bank, it was understandable for everyone. And another issue we need to consider is that it's quite difficult to look into the future of 2, 3, or more years. When we talked with big companies, we saw that they have long-term planning, for example, for 10 years, but they have more specific plans. And these plans are for the next 2, 3 years, because everything may change. Because, for example, when we started in 2019 and now it's two different conditions. And let's see what the pre-seed round is. Is for those who want to provide funds and the products on their side, they need these funds for development. As part of the DigiU ecosystem, I think it's easier for us. And with these two products, they are our in-house development, because we have a team with expertise, and we consider it's less risky for us than if we invest in external projects. And usually funds try to invest in later rounds. Here it's a different story, because everything is our in-house development. So 5% is allocated for the pre-seed round. The same way was for EYWA. And what should be understood that we still don't know if there will be tokens or these projects will be more traditional ones. So now we don't say that this 5% will be in tokens or shares. Right now we need to understand the legal framework, and we need to think about what type of ownership this 5% will represent, whether there will be tokens or securities or something else. And all this will be clear during the development stage of this product. And what I understood is that to have investments and to secure all the investors, we need to provide good conditions for investing. And you will be able to get some share of this 5% for free. So how this 5% will be distributed? And in our ecosystem, everything is clear. So 50% belongs to DigiU share owners. And another 50% belong to those who participate in some activities, and is the same story with dividends. So 50% of the profit, or even more, go to dividends. And it's the same here. So we take 5% of each of these projects and divide it by 2. The first one stays in the ecosystem, and the second part will be given to users during the funding stage of this project. So some of you will receive this 50%. And it's obvious that the financing stage can take different amounts of time. And our goal is to have the whole funding in 6 or less months, to be able to form the team, to package the product, to pay for legal services, to pay for developers and other team and other members of the team, participation in exhibitions, because it's essential to advertise the product and present it to people. It became obvious to us this year that we need to spend that we need to pay more attention to participating in different events. And one of unique things we have in the ecosystem is the openness to our community, because we doing everything together with you, starting from the idea and to the implementation. So now we need to launch a lot of processes, develop the roadmap, develop the finance models. For example, EYWA received $1 million from us, and for that we got 5%. And now we are doing the same with the owners of DigiU shares. And I think many of you received EYWA tokens as a gift just because you are an investor. Some of you received for participating in promotions. And some of you just because you bought DigiU shares. And if we take the period of 6 months, there will be about 6 stages. But everything depends on the speed and efficiency. And we aim to the similar volumes we had with EYWA, which is about $1 million for each project. Maybe a bit less, but we will announce the full roadmap for each project and full program of the financing model. And apart from that, it's clear that the ecosystem has other tasks and obligations. And it's not the only process for the DigiU ecosystem. So let's look at the conditions. So the first thing you need to understand is the projects participating. It's RWA Marketplace and RWA Bank. So these two projects. The artificial intelligence one will be added a bit later. Maybe it will be in a different form if we have enough funds. The period of the first round is from the 20th of October until the 10th of November. So this is the period when this round will be open. %10 of the part reserved for this stage. So the terms is the payment of DigiU shares during the first stage. What does it mean? It's a clear scheme. So you pay your installment plan or you purchase a new package and you receive the percentage on your shares. You don't need to do additional steps. So during this period, all the partners and investors who want to have in their portfolio some part of these two projects can get them for free. And if you don't have any installment plans, and if you don't make any purchase, you still have DigiU shares and you are co-owner of all the products. But it's up to you to own these projects individually or through DigiU shares. And if you have an active overdue installment payment, you will be excluded from the distribution. If you meet the requirements, you get more than those who don't meet the requirements. So this period of 21 days will be divided into 2 stages. So we will divide the distribution into 2 parts. So if you make any purchase in the period from the 20th to the 31st of October, you are participating in the distribution of 50%, and then from the 31st until the 10th of November, you participate in distribution of another 50%. And for example, less shares will be purchased in the first part, then you get more percentage that will be distributed of these 2 projects. And if there will be more purchases of shares in the second part, you will get less. Now I'll go through the chats and maybe answer some interesting questions. I can see some questions about the EYWA IDO, and please watch the last webinar where Boris explained when all this will happen. I can see the question, what is the difference between Binaryx and token estate? So Binaryx is a technology that we considered most secured and most efficient. So it's the technology for tokenization. And the marketplace is the form of business that utilizes this technology. So for example, there is a oil refining factory, and there is petrol stations. So the factory has the technology, and petrol stations sell this technology. So that's the difference. I can see an interesting question. Is it going to be possible to participate in later rounds of these projects, like private rounds and so on? I cannot answer this question right now. And if you look at EYWA, there were these kind of opportunities where you could participate, but we will see. Our goal for November is to build a specific business model for this project and understand if there is an additional round for private investors, if they can get a small allocation. There is some specifics of venture financing, venture investing. For example, how a large venture fund will react to that. that the project, for example, has not a few large investors, but 1,000 of small ones. So I cannot answer this question now, but we as a company always act for the interests of our investors and partners. And from the trips we had, we can see that since we start talking about these projects, the audience starts to become interesting and ask questions. So if we make any payment for DigiU shares starting tomorrow, pay off your installment payments, you will be able to become co-owners of these two projects with big potential. And again, this webinar is not the presentation of business models. It's just the preparation for this presentation that will be held at the end of November with more details. Of course, we are going to talk more and discuss more about these directions. So our audience will have more understanding why these fields are promising for us. And if you start owning something and start studying something, you become more knowledgeable and more professional than those who don't. So use this opportunity properly and stay tuned, because the first ones receive more. So this 50% will be distributed on before the 11th of November. Thank you for this meeting. And you have several hours before it's October 20, so you can prepare.